Namaste. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let us begin a kind of a revision of the Purusha Suktam, and not sure exactly how many classes it will take. We will see. So just wanted to point out that this is not a revision in the sense of going over the same material again. It's not a repetition. What I would like to say is that it is more like we were mapping out the area of our life at the ground level, looking at all the details, where everything is, how do they relate to each other, how far is certain goals from us, those kinds of things, like a mapping of a geography, so to speak. And when you do that, you are of course close to the subject matter, but you're also very grainy. Grainy in the sense you don't have an overall view of it. So this revision is now taking the same mapping of the geography of our life from a higher level. It's as though you were now you're taking a camera from a picture from a drone, or if you go up on some kind of a helicopter and you see the whole area. So when you do that, you have a little better idea of how everything fits in. You don't have the graininess of it. The other day I was outside just looking at this mountain scenery from our window, and I really admired the birds, and just admire Ishwara's power to the birds. How effortlessly they were traversing a huge amount of land within seconds, effortlessly, and just not flapping their wings even, just riding on the wind. And something that across the valley, maybe about 4 or 5 miles away, it would take us a long time to get there. And this bird just flows from one end to the other within a matter of 10 seconds. What a life. Just amazing. And of course what the bird is doing is they're not flying for the pleasure of it like you and I might be doing it. We get into some kind of a flying exercise. No, you're looking for food. So they have to really look around to see if there are any dead rats anywhere, something that they can smell, and so on. So they have this higher end view of it. Anyway, it's unrelated to what we're doing here. But I think that the point is that the revision that we will do today, starting today, will hopefully give you an overall view of what the geography of Purusha Suktam is. So this is number one. The second thing I will point out in the nature of this revision is that if you're doing a systematic unfolding of the concepts in the Purusha Suktam, like Swami Maheshananji has done, you cannot bring in the final thoughts of the Purusha Suktam in the very beginning. So that'll be like backwards, because you have to build an unfolding process where you slowly explain how this Srishti is or is not, as we will see today, and then towards the end you provide certain summary. So that's okay when that's the ground view. But if you're doing a review at a higher level, you don't mind bringing some of the key concepts that are covered later on in the text at the very beginning, so that you have a closure. So this is what is called upakrama upasamhara. Upakrama means the beginning, and upasamhara is the summary of what was going on. And so you close the circle by bringing them together. So we will not be shy of bringing in concepts from the beginning of Purusha Suktam and the ending of Purusha Suktam, and I wouldn't say mixing them, but combining them into something which is more intelligible. So I was thinking of that. I kind of hinted at that in the last class. So this is what I was doing when I was doing this outline. Another thing, and so that's what I just wanted to just go over that. Another thing on the outlining, I haven't made as much progress as I wanted to. I've been very busy with some personal things, and so I was hoping that I could give you the entire spectrum in the very first class, but that's not going to happen. I think I have about 45 already done, and I think it's going to go at least double, maybe 100 or so. So I thought that we would simply cover the first 20 of them or so, and even hopefully even that may not be possible. And so I just wanted you to take a look at it and have notes, room for notes that you want to write. Anyway, so that's what it is. So anyway, with that preamble, let us go into it. And one other thing, these are not very polished notes. They're polished. They're not polished in the sense, because what I've noticed it that as I was going through, some of the same concepts occurred same concepts occurred in different contexts. Like, what is the central theme of Purusha Suktam? That occurs at more than one place. And so it is okay when you are giving a discourse which is spread over several classes, but if you're writing a book, you have to be much more careful not to repeat yourself. Each chapter has to have a unique conceptual basis, and I'm not sure that this is it. So if I were to really publish this in some kind of notes or something like this, we'd have to further rearrange some of these points. Okay, so all these, excuse me, caveats I just wanted to bring up, so that if you find something, I thought we already talked about it and so on, you will forgive me that this is really not a polished effort. This is a initial effort in combining all these points. Okay, enough said about the preamble. So let us get into the Purusha Suktam. So Purusha Suktam, even though it is an encomium, as Swami Tattvavedananda ji is very fond of saying, I didn't know what the word encomium meant until he articulated it. Encomium means a praise. Suktam means a praise of Ishwara. And a praise of Ishwara, Purusha, in the sense that it is not an idle praise. Oh, you are so great, we are thankful for your kindness, and so on and so forth. There is no substance in it. In that kind of a praise, there is not much substance. There may be sincerity. I'm not saying that it's insincere. But the substance of the praise is not there. But when you try to unravel the mystery of the creation, and you try to have some insights into the creation, then that praise is more meaningful. I've given this example before, that if some big scientist should come over to give a valedictory speech in your graduation, then a freshman who's been elected to give the valedictory speech introducing that scientist might simply say, "We are honored for you to come here. We have heard a lot about you. You are a great person," and so on. And it means something. Means something. But supposing there is the chairman of the physics department who gives a valedictory speech welcoming the scientists and said, "I really think your discovery of this point because of the following concepts is absolutely marvelous." And not to be overdone, 5 years later so he goes into some details of the accomplishments of the professor, and so that really means something. So here it's an encomium, but it's not an encomium in a shallow sense. And this is what I really appreciated about Swami Maheshanandaji's book. So when I started, read it, I don't remember when, I think 6-7 years ago, because I usually make a round every 4 or 5 years onto the major textbooks that I like. When I first read it, I wasn't sure what it contained, and I think some of you have given me the same. I think Kalpana is the one who had written to me recently. By the way, I have been very blessed with some of your Guru Dakshina emails, and I really like the fact that you have explained what the class has meant to you, and so that has been wonderful, and I really appreciate it. And by the end of these revision classes, if some of you can please write to me, I would very much appreciate it. So as Kalpana had said, that she didn't know what Purusha Suktam was all about until she really started attending the classes. And Kalpana and I had exactly the same situation. I started reading the book. I didn't know what it was. Purusha Suktam is a book that as a text that I've been chanting for a long time, but the more I got into it, I said, "Oh my gosh, this has some depth in it which is missing from the normal." And by the way, when I started to, when I was visualizing teaching this class about a year back, and I think Shankar Narasimha will agree with me also, that I had asked for some, if you know about any translations and so on and so forth, you can please let me know. He was the one who sent me that. He has a book, he has been reading a book from some Swami in, I think, in Bangalore. I think he's from Chinmaya Mission, I'm not sure. No, not from Chinmaya Mission. From Ramakrishna Mission, I believe. And so I requested the Swami to send me his translation of it, and I read that. And I also read maybe about 5 or 6 other translations from the internet. And the net of it is that either they don't understand or they don't express what they understand. Very surfacey. Just giving just the word meaning and sentence meaning and so on, but not tying the concepts together, which is what a Mahapurusha, a real Mahatma like Swami Maheshanandaji has given. Because the depth of his vision, the depth of his understanding and clarity is just totally amazing. And so I'm very happy that we can express some of that in these forms. Anyway, so let me start on it. So the main purpose of the Purusha Suktam, and so one of the talking on the main purpose, any encomium of Ishwara, any praise of Ishwara should be seen in personal terms. It should be seen in personal terms because, why? Because you don't want to praise Ishwara for the sake of it. I mean, the Shastra also is very clear. Ishwara is not important because of Ishwara's sake. Ishwara is important because of my sake. Really, everything is based on, it looks crass on the surface. But really speaking, the quest for completeness is very fundamental to our living. And it is very understandable that really everything revolves around how do I get that? And even the Ishvara's encomium should be seen from that standpoint. Because nothing is, so what? Ishvara is happy, he's happy and so on. Doesn't have any problems. I am the one that has the problems. I am the one that is seeking the blessings of Ishvara. And so the main purpose of Purusha Suktam, I'm just giving you the background on that, is that it is meant for my own unconditional happiness. And from that perspective, it says that, listen, you are, Ishvara responds to it, to his encomium, and say, so Ishvara's blessings could be, Ishvara's blessings are not saying as being separate from you. So the blessings of Ishvara that we seek can be in one of two forms. One form could be that, my life is has some problems, some obstacles, some issues and so on, and may I need your help to please, this is the Ganesha Stuti, may you be the remover of the obstacles and so on. And so in this encomium, Ishvara is separate from you, right? You are the one who is praying, and Ishvara is the one that is prayed. So there is some separation. So this is not the final blessing. The final blessing of Ishvara will be that what Ishvara has in terms of his powers, of his nature, of his Swarupa, that nature is given to you. It's given to you. Nothing is held back. It's not like saying, okay, tathastu, may I do this, may I do that, and the Ishvara says, tathastu, okay, let it be. Which is okay, this is okay. This is saguna upasana. Saguna karma phala. But the nirguna karma phala, which is totally, it's like the saguna karma phala is, okay, I'll give you that. But that's all I will give you, because you ask for certain things and you deserve it, and I'm happy to convey that to you. But you haven't asked for everything. You haven't asked for saying, the real asking for that is when we say, may you make me so capable that I don't have to ask for anything. This is the real, it is exactly like Swami Dayananda used to say that usually if you have a problem with your leg, then you go in for some kind of a walking aid, crutches, and then you go back to the shop and say, these crutches are fine, but they're not padded very well, and they really hurt my armpits when I'm doing this. Can you give me some better crutches? So the guy looks at it and said, what kind of insurance do you have? That's what happens these days. So you say, I've got this Medicare, and he says, no, you have to pay for it yourself. So you say, okay, whatever it is, let me pay for it. So now you get some better crutches. Now after that you say, well, can I get a walker instead? So you keep on improving. Now in all of this, you're not saying, may I not need any crutches. Because for most of us that don't have any problems, we don't walk around in crutches or have a walker. We're okay by ourselves. So that's the end objective. And so Ishwara can really bless you if you give yourself up and understand that the totality of Ishvara cannot be until you and he are exactly the same. Not the problems of running the world, we don't have to worry about that. Let President Biden take care of it. But just the very Swarupa of Ishvara I just want. So that is the real encomium, and that's the praptasya prapti. So this second thought on the number 1 is an important one, which means that these again here I think I will point out that the plurality. See, this is one where I would have probably done it differently. Where is the point where he says that it's not empirical, it is something that you understand. The Advaita is not empirical. I have it here somewhere, I can't find it. So, number 7, sorry. So number one third point, without changing anything, is very similar to number 7, that the Advaita is not physical, it's not empirical, which we all want it to be. These are not theoretical points. Whenever we want some problem to go away, it is very much like I want all waves not to bother me. Let the world be very calm. And it's not going to happen, because the very nature of the ocean is that there are waves in it. It is very unlikely. Once when we were visiting, I think my wife and I were visiting some ocean somewhere, I think Hawaii or something. And I cannot believe how calm the ocean was. It looked like a lake. And it was weird, really weird. That we said, what's going on? There's no waves, no wind, no nothing. It was hardly anything we could see. It was just like a lake. That's not the normal ocean. The normal ocean it's noisy. A lot of stuff is going on. But we want it to be quiet. Similarly, in our life also, we want our obstacles to go away. We don't like it. That's not the objective of Advaita. The Advaita is to find in the seeming plurality, to see the plurality as a seeming plurality, and to find that there is this singularity, purnatvam, purnaha, purnamadav, purnamidam. It's all purnaha. This is what I have to see. This is what I have to grasp. So that's the number 1. Number 2, the Purusha Suktam is not about the details of the Srishti, which is the normal misconception that it talks about how the cosmos came about and how God chose Brahmana as the most superior race, and next comes Kshatriya, and Shudra is in the back. This is the normal understanding of it. And so this is not correct. This is not the real this Purusha Suktam is not about the details of the Srishti, but to say that please understand that Ishvara is just one person that is everything. This is where Swami Dayanandaji's characterization is excellent. We don't have one God or many God, we only have God. It's beautiful. I think a rich contribution. I don't see others have done. It's the same concept as before, but Swami Dayanandji has really put a wonderful exclamation mark on that rule. So this is what I have to see. The purpose of the Purusha Suktam is that I don't see it. I sort of accept it grudgingly, but I don't see it. And so the real objective of an encomium is to say, don't you see? And this is backed up with a lot of logic. Unless there's this is why it is said that imagine. So this actually goes to number 8, Purusha. Purau Ushati iti, the king of a city. Imagine a city without a king or a chief that everybody has to obey. Chaos, total chaos. Similarly, you have your own body. You are the king or queen of your own body. You are the chief of your own body. Our body is such even a city does not have the kind of variety and sophistication of different parts of it all working together. And the body has infinite number of things going on. And it all works because you are there. You're there. It's not as the hands go their own way. And this is why when you try to, when you have an unexpected fall, your hands sacrifice themselves. They get scarred in the process, but your head should be protected. So this mutual love and understanding of all parts of the body is only possible if there is a me that oversees everything. So this is just a Jiva Purusha. You look at the Paramatma, whole creation. This is the meaning of the word Ishwara. I think you all know that. So Ish means to lord over, to be the boss. It's called Ish. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. The one which is pervaded and lorded over by whom? It's called Ishwar. Isha. Then the suffix vara means total. Total means without any exception. So that's the meaning of the suffix vara, varach pratyaya. So that's why he says bhasvaraha. So bhasvaraha is the name of the sun, where it is always shining. It is nothing but shining. There's no night in the sun. There's a night on the earth, protected from the sun, but the sun itself is nothing but light. So Ishwara also is nothing but the total boss, unconditional boss. It can only be possible if there's only one boss, because if there's just two of them, this is the difficulty that many of the religions come up with. How do we account for the bad things in life? Because you cannot say Ishvara. We say Ishvara is all love and so on, but the Ishvara punishes also. All these shootings and so on and so forth. So you say the Ishvara. How about the shootings? Well, the shootings is nothing. That the Ishvara is very unhappy about that. But what can we do? There is some kind of a devil-like situation. You cannot compartmentalize. It is all just one. So it is really, the whole thing is nothing but Purusha alone. So like you and I are Jiva Purusha, we lord over a small section of the body. Ishwara is the Mahapurusha, Uttama Purusha, in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Uttama Purushas tu anyaha udahritaha, that verse, Uttama Purusha. Uttama Purusha means, so there is a Prathama Purusha, there is a Dvitiya Purusha, this is Uttama Purusha. Purusha means one who is the only one, Ekaha. And so the whole cosmos is really one person. This is number one. The other thing which is very interesting to see, and Swami Maheshananji points that out towards the very end of the book, and so this is one of those things that I pulled in and talked about here. And he was quoting a Mahatma. Swami Maheshananji was quoting a Mahatma who was saying, look why money is such an important thing in our life. Because to conduct our life, we need food. And to get food, we need money. To buy food, to buy groceries, we need money. Money is important for food. Money is important for security. Money is important for this. Money is important for that. So this is why it is important to be the karana, the very source of security in our life is money. Not the only source, but a very important source is money. If you don't have money, you are destitute. You have to depend on someone else. You're not the independent. But to have independence, you need money. But the money itself is very limited. So Modi ji, for example, he demonetized 500 rupee notes and 1000 rupee notes overnight. The money is gone. Swami Maheshananji points out that you may have made 1,00,000 of rupees and you have it in your pocket, and you go to USA and you say, here's my money. They'll say, I don't understand what the rupee business is. We don't recognize the rupee. Please go away. And so the money is also very limited. That is not the case with Ishwara. We should understand that any sukham, or any limited sukham or unlimited sukham, the source is Ishwara. He is the sikka, as he says, sikka means that he is the coin, the golden coin, which never goes, there is no limits to it. So, unlimited source of security. Some of it is really disjointed. It is not. I'm just going through the points per se. This I thought was a very interesting thing, that Jiva and Ishwara, number 3, Jiva and Ishwara are really part of the same family. I think when we did the classes, I quoted a verse from this poet, a very accomplished poet called Apyaya Dikshita. Shri Apyaya Dikshita admonishes Ishwara and says, you know what, you have created a problem for me, Ishwara. So Ishwara says, why? How come? What did I do? And he says, you and I are cousins. Isn't it true that you and I are in the same family? Ishwara says, yes, that's true. So I belong to the Devata family. I don't belong to the Pashu family. Isn't that true? Because Ishwara says, yeah, that's very, very true. Okay, if that's been established, you and I are cousins. Ishwara says, that's a good point. Yes, absolutely. You and I are cousins. We are part of the same family. We are not some stranger or anything like that. He says, aha, then I have a problem with what you've done. So Ishwara says, what did I do? He said, you have divided the wealth between us in a very unequal way. You have gotten the whole glory of running the whole cosmos. And even the slightest problem doesn't bother you. You are fully independent. And you are Ishwara, you are the Lord. And look at me. I am beset with problems on a daily basis. Even a mosquito bite really bothers me. And is this fair? If we are cousins, don't you think there should have been beautiful poetry? Lovely poetry. This is also an encomium. And saying, will you please give me some of your powers? And Ishwara is always ready to give you powers, but if you get ready with those sentiments, with those bhavas, then Ishwara winks at you and says, good, 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 good. So, and so this number 3 was the very famous example of the lion cub that was brought up by sheep and thinks it is a sheep, but in fact it is not. That's exactly our situation. Believe it or not, that is our situation. We don't belong to the family of Pashus. Pashu is the one who is controlled by other things. It's called a Pashu, an animal. So we have put ourselves in the side of the Pashu. Occasionally we are somewhat independent, but pretty soon something happens and we lose our independence. It's reminded that you're not independent. So we become a lot closer to the Pashus than to the Devatas. And so in that sense, it says that please find me. Please look for the signs. So number 4 says that I can't. How do I do that? I've lost it and I don't know how to find this Devata business, that I am as free as you are. I don't know how to do it. How? So this requires a careful understanding of where my independence seems to be lost. Yeah, we understand that you cannot find it, but it is there and you need to find it. So this is what is called Lingam. So you need to have signs that only a wise person can tell you. And so here, if a person goes to the panchayat head and says, sir, my cow in the village somebody has stolen it. And so the panchayat said, really? That's very awful. That should not be happening in this village. And when did this happen? So he goes through all of these details. And then he says, how do I know? I have no idea where to look for it. We have a very huge village and I can't go to everybody, like a town. So the elder says, fortunately we can look, because it's a muddy place and all we have to do is to trace the hoof marks of the cow. And so if you do that, follow me and we will find the cow. And they found the cow. So this is the lingam of Vedanta, and we have to carefully look for it. And it is the most hidden because it is in Mihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman Soshnate Sarvan Kaman Saha. So this is the beginning of the Taittiriya Upanishad. That really it is hidden in your own mind. Your mind itself is confused, and a non-confused mind will reflect it. This is the method to understand it. And so it also tells us what the lingam is. So in number 5, we talked about the artha siddhi. So the attainment of some end, purushartha, artha siddhi, has 2 parts to it. Lakshana, no, this is misspelled here. It should be not lakshana, lakshana. So I'll correct it. Lakshana pramana bhyam artha siddhi means, lakshana means what are the unique qualities that you are looking for. So lakshana of an object means that all objects, all things, all vastus in this world have a particular lakshana that distinguishes it from everything else. It's something uniquely defines it. It's called lakshana. And so, for example, this table. So this table in this room is its lakshana. There's actually 2 tables, so you can say this is a higher table. I have a lower table on the other side. The higher table in Vijay Kapoor's studio is a unique lakshana. They have to look for it, they have to look for my name, and they have to look for my studio room where I'm doing the broadcasting, and they look around and say, this is, so it's a unique lakshana. And the other one is, what is the pramana? Pramana means what is the absolute definite way of describing the lakshana. Who tells you that lakshana? That's called pramana. So a combination of lakshana and pramana is the artha siddhi. So here, what is the lakshana for Ishwara? Lakshana for Ishwara is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Means one which never leaves its Swarupa, which does not become something else at any time. It is incapable of changing. This is Satyam. Asti bhati priyam. This is the lakshana. And also one which is Swayam Jyoti, which does not need any help to shine. It shines by itself and it is there by itself. Swayam Bhuhu Swayam Jyoti. And it has no limitations. Anantam. Anandam. This is the lakshana. And how do we know this? Believe it or not, this is the hard to understand, hard to believe. Only the Vedas in the whole human creation, in the Prithvi, in the entire earth, only the Vedas point this out. This is what is called Aupanishadam Purusham Prichami. I'm asking about that Purusha which is revealed by the Upanishads, Vedas. This is the pramana. This is where it is hidden. So that is a lakshana. Just like you talk about the lakshana of the cow, you can tell this person, listen, my cow is, fortunately that cow has a damaged left, her left side of the ear is damaged, and so it's like was cut off in the very beginning. This is a lakshana which is unique for this cow. Just let's go find it. So they'd say, now let's do the lingam. Let's follow the hoof marks. And you go to somebody's house and you say, aha, there is that cow. There's no other cow with that kind of a... He'd already described it to me exactly. Yep. You knock on the door and you say, out. You come with me. You are a thief. And so this is called Lakshana Pramanabhyam Artha Siddhi. So the basic ingredients of everything. And you know where the basic ingredient of everything is, which is never absent? Satyam Jnanam Anantam. You know where this basic ingredient is? It is you. Your consciousness. Think about it. Everything else disappears at one time or the other. Everything is conditioned upon time, about space, about other objects. They're highly limited. Here today, gone tomorrow. But your consciousness always is. That is the ingredient of everything. Number 7 we have already done before. Number 8 also. Number 9 was a very important point that Swami Maheshananji pointed out, that everything that... So this is an important thing to see, that my source from where I came is the Purusha, the Ishwara. Because sometimes the children will say to the mom and dad, where did I come from? So they say, you were born from, the mother will say, from my womb. You mean I was not there before the womb? No, she doesn't know. But you can say, where was I before I entered? Because if I am there, nothing comes out of nothing. Something always comes out of something. And so if I was there, where was I? Well, then you were in the previous life. Well, before that previous life, where was I? And the mother and father says, don't ask me. I can't tell you. Just do your work. Don't bother me. Really, the source of everything is Ishwara. And even now, I seem to be separated. I'm not really separated. But the fact of the matter is, leave aside the fact whether we are seeming to be separated or not. The fact of the matter we should understand is that the nature of the world is that if we are separated from our source, we are not happy. That's the concept we should really grasp. What we should really, I think this is the concept we should grasp is, whether we see it or not, we are all seeking Ishwara. This is the situation. We may think we are seeking a partner in life. We are seeking a good job. We're seeking better health. We're seeking this independence from this blessed COVID. We're seeking a second shot. We're always seeking something or the other. You ask, what is it that you really want? People have a long list of things that they're seeking. do you know, if you really uncover what's behind that seeking, it is really a seeking of a complete independence, which is not possible without understanding Ishwara. It's exactly the same thing as we said before about the crutches. You appear to be getting a better crutch. You appear to be seeking a better crutch. Isn't there some way you can make my injury more comfortable? This is what happens in India. If somebody has a problem, that happened to my, who was it? Yeah, my brother-in-law. Yeah, this happened to my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law is getting old. He's got some Parkinson's, very advanced Parkinson's. And so he had to be given a walker at home. And the walkers available in India are not very good. So they were looking for a Western walker, something where you can hold on to it and go inside the home. And so their son works in New York. My sister's son works in New York. So she called him Mohan and said, Mohan, your dad really needs a new walker. I understand that US has it. Can you please buy one and send it to me? So we are always looking for a better solution. But as we said earlier, the best solution is where I don't need a walker. I don't need any dependency. I'm totally independent. That's not possible until we understand that I came out of Purusha and I'm seeking Purusha back again. I should quit fooling myself that I want a better job and a better a new partner in my life and all those. I should quit fooling myself and to understand the reality behind all these limited searches and say, I really want Ishwara. And this comes not easily. I'm not saying this is something easy. If you look at all the Mahatmas, they'll all say, yep, that's exactly right. So you can take this as a measure of your life. If you have not started seeking Ishwara directly, I'm very sorry to say you have a long ways to go. You're wandering around. You're not seeking intelligently. Even after you start seeking intelligently, there is still a long ways to go because you are really messed up in this labyrinth of life. But at least you should know how. And you cannot know how until you understand all these concepts. That there's only a single Purusha, the only source of joy is Ishwara. All of that has to be clearly understood before you now say, okay, this is what Purusha Suktam is all about. It is not about Shrishti and Brahmana and Kshatriya and so on and so forth. Number 11 points out, and Swami Maheshananji pointed this out. He said, this is interesting. Ishwara has countless powers. And one of those powers is to hide himself so you can find him. And he gave this example about this. Remember when we were taking the class, I won't repeat it in detail, that there was a person who had lost his appetite. And he was bothered by the fact that he had lost his appetite. He really wanted to feel hungry. So he went to an Ayurvedic doctor and said, Sir, why don't I feel hungry? The Ayurvedic doctor said, you don't feel hungry, that's good, you're not eating very much, you'll lose some weight, it's good. No, I think there is something wrong. was right in the sense that really it is natural for us to feel hungry. So the Ayurvedic doctor wrote him all these powders and kashayas and so on. Say, okay, you take this for 2 weeks and you'll feel hungry again. And sure enough, after 2 weeks, he told his wife, oh my gosh, I am so hungry. Can you please make aloo paratha for me? Or something, whatever the food would be. He was very happy that I am hungry. I am very happy that I really am hungry. And then, why do you want to feel hungry? Because the pleasure of eating is something very beautiful. When you're hungry, food tastes so good. So in a way, Swami Meshananji said, this is what the whole creation is all about. That you create a sense of limitation, of dukkha, just so that you can remove it. You are not really dukkhi. Your very swarupa is that you are sukhi. And this is exactly what happens at the night time. Because when you cease to want things, you are sukhi. So your nature is sukhi. But the moment you get up, you say, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do today. Here's my list. And then people also call you and say, by the way, did you forget to do this? You now have a lot of things on your mind. And if somebody says, you don't need to do any of that, then he says, what? Of course I do. And so, this sports competition and movies are very good examples. Because in sports, for example, what happens is you create a certain tension. Really, this is a very, very good example. Sports is a very good example of the nature of the world. Because the nature of the world is, this is a game, a very sophisticated game. Very sophisticated game, really. Because in sports what happens is that an artificial tension is created so that when the game, I'm sure that many of you that follow the sports and so on, when there are two really good teams, see, if there is a game of, if one very good team and one not very good team, who would want to watch it? Because they will know this not very good team will get creamed in the process. So you have a soccer game between Manchester United and your local high school team. What kind of a tension? There's no tension. These guys will make a fool of you. So the tension only comes in when in fact you have two very good teams, each one of which feels we are the best. We are the best. No, we are the best. No, we are the best. Okay, let's see it. And it's a very serious thing, and then tickets are sold by Ticketmaster, and it goes up to $100 a ticket, and this, that, or the other. Boxing matches are the same way. And so people really love to see that. And there is in fact some blood, and there's some fights, and so on and so forth. In the end, one person wins, one person loses, and they both shake hands with each other. Say, good game, guys, good game, guys. This is what the whole world is all about. We have created this, and Ishwara has helped us to create this tension. And just so that we can see what the sukha is when this tension is released. So that's another thing to talk about. I think this bhava comes in much later on. Remember, almost towards the end of our class, in the very last class, this bhava was talked about. But I think Swamiji had discussed it, Swami Maheshananji had discussed it early on also. So this is a sequential process. I was just going through all and picking out the main concept. So this came up, number 12. So we'll probably discuss it some other time. Now, number 13 and 14 is again should be understood to be the main point of the Purusha Suktam. This is a subtle point and an important point for us to grasp. And again, another part is that the way the creation is given, the way the creation is made, the way the creation is described and represented in the Purusha Suktam is to be understood as a model for us because we also create every day. Really speaking, I would say that the life of, we're talking about human beings here, let's say, the life of a human being represents the whole cosmos. Why? Because it involves multiple creations every day. Every new day is a new creation. So the word, I'm thinking there's this word called jantuhu. So this jantuhu is a word that Swami Maheshananji pointed out, represents janma, a birth. The one who is born is called a jantuhu. And we are continuously being born. Every day is, I am born as a person. And this is the thing we should see. I'm born as a person not for the first time. Because my birth, when I open my eyes in the morning and I welcome a day, is really a reflection of what I used to be. And soon after I go to bed, that manufacturing of the day, that creation is over. I go into the recess of being nothing. I'm happy. Then the whole thing starts again. It's a beautiful example where there is no real creation. You know, if the creation that I make in my life was real, it will never disappear at night time also. Just look at it. This is a very important point. But I make this creation. And when I have this creation during the day, it looks very real to me. I think I mentioned that somewhere here. It looks like a kaleidoscope. And I'm ensnared in it. And so, the purpose of the Purusha Suktam in talking about the creation in the beginning, this is exactly what happens, is to point out that really the creation comes out of nothingness. And it is never really created, because the creation means it will stay like that. No. Tasmat virada jayata virajo adi purusha sajato atyaritchata. So there is some kind of a separation that occurs. And so the whole idea is that, really speaking, in number 13, that this is what I have to understand, that Ishwara has made a creation as though it is a real creation. But it is really vivarta upadana karana. Yes, so this is the example of the clay and the ornament of the clay pots, and the gold and the golden ornaments. It really, nothing happens to the gold. The ornaments are created, but there's really no real creation. If the real creation is there, it will get completely separated from the gold. It can never be separated from the gold. Even while it is looking like an ornament, it is still nothing but a gold exact. This is the trick of Maya. What a beautiful creation. A non-creation as though it's a creation. And the reason why this is important, it's not as though it is, let us admire, how Ishwara is creating without non-creation. Oh wow, what a wonderful thing. I am doing it every day. And I should understand that the only point is that I am getting ensnared in my own creation. That's the only thing that I should see, that this is what the advanced students of Vedanta will understand, is asangoham ayam purushaha. Completely asangaha. That between a rope and a snake there is no sangaha. No sangaha. No mix-up between those two. You're completely separate. And I think that this example of looking at the mirror, Swami Maheshananji had explicitly pointed out all aspects of this. He says, wow. And this is what is given in the first verse of the Dakshinamurti Stotram. Vishwam darpana dishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam. And that is that in a mirror you have all of the front of the body. It doesn't have the back of the body, but all of the front of the body are faithfully reproduced. Your eyes and your cheeks and your nose and your ears and your hair, or lack of hair, whatever it is, everything is very faithfully reproduced. It looks just like you. And just because it looks like you doesn't mean that you grasp the hair and it is nothing but glass. You try to touch the ears. You try to put a bindi on the top. Chanda. You cannot do it. It's all glass. So also the world. It looks like a very real thing. But there's no reality in it, is what we have to see. So, I'll just cover number 14 and then close the class. So the purpose of the Purusha Suktam is to see that my representation of, so this is an important thing to see. The magic of creation is, once it is understood, then I'm free. And the magic of creation is identical between Ishwara and Jiva. Identical. I am really just nothing but a representation of the creation of Ishwara. And Ishwara is free because He understands it's a fake creation. I don't understand it's a fake creation yet. I will. Guaranteed. But to start, I have to see what is the fakeness of the creation. How can it be done? Because I refuse to believe it. You talk to an ordinary person, ordinary means I'm not putting anyone down, but if you just have a normal conversation with someone and say, do you know the whole thing is a fake creation? When either they will laugh at you or they will dismiss you as a lunatic. So we're not even willing to take the first step. So do it privately. Don't talk to anyone about it. Talk to your own mind. Have a conversation with the mind and says, do you know? Mind says, I don't think there is anything truth to it. Yeah, but this is being said from not an ordinary source, it is from the Vedantic source. Well, I don't know. They might say, so you have this dialogue. And in the beginning, the mind wins. But if you persist on it, your inquiry gathers some speed. Well, maybe this is interesting. And so the whole idea of the Purusha Suktam is to make you more powerful in your arguments as you discuss this with your mind. And say, listen, Ishwara does it every day. You do it every day. You dismantle the creation, remantle the creation. Dismantle, remantle. Or some such word, not remantle. This is exactly what happens. And it is proven by all people who have understood this very clearly. And you say, really? Is this the way it is? And say, yeah, that's what it is. So anyway, we'll continue. Obviously, as usual, I spend more time in giving some, I should really just say, okay, number 14, as long as we see Ishwara as being different, this should be seen as essential vision of Purusha Suktam. Okay, is that right? Well, let's go to the next one, number 15. If we did that, we'll be done in a couple of days. But this, if you don't mind, I don't know, I hope you're not saying, oh no, we're going through this over again. It might take 5-6 weeks, who knows? I don't know. I'll try to keep it short and not to make a complete revision, but it's fun. I don't know about you, but it's good to go through these. So we'll continue doing that. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. All right. Let's see if anybody is watching, or am I just talking to myself? Darshana, Vandana, Panna, Srinivasan, Suvarna, Krishnarayan, Zarina, Chandradulam, Shantikumar, Gajananam, Arvind, Natalia, Jaya Chaudhary, the Thandris, Sudhar Tomar, Satish Jalota, Subhash Jain, Surendra Bhargava, Sulekha Chaudhary, Mary Penn, Lakshmi Kaushik, Raj Velpuri, Balamani, Lee Chichu, Ila Joshi, Virendra Singh, Anjali Deshmukh, Gaurang Krishnamurthy, Andrea Graziosi and Ramanan, Keshav Chopra, Krishna Birru, Sulochana Lulla, Suresh Belani, Subroto Bose, Shankar Narsiman, Maitri Ramakrishnan, Ganeshan, Krishnamurthy, Prakash, Nair, Om Prakash Bahuja. Not sure who you are, Om Prakash, if you can let me know. Jai Raj. Very nice. You have quite a few of you to talk to. I'm very happy to do this. So I will try to revise this document and eventually maybe we'll make it a little bit more tight and more polished than what it is now. But for the time being, I think this is good. Balamani, I followed your teachings and got up to number 5 important items. What is number 6 and 7? So the 6 and 7 are different. Number 6 is the English version of number 5, which is Lakshana. So the Lakshana of Satyam is that one which never loses its nature at any one time, and that the only one that doesn't lose the nature is you. Not you as the body-mind, but you as the basic Atma, as the consciousness. It's always there. So that's number 6. Number 7 says that, we were talking about that earlier, that our objective is to look at Advaita empirically. And that's not going to happen. The real goal of Advaita is despite Dvaita, not the absence of Dvaita, but despite Dvaita. Advaita without Dvaita. So there the understanding is that don't be bothered by all the waves of the ocean, because they are all you. You are the water. And so don't look upon yourself as a wave and look upon everybody else as a Dvaita. But it is all Advaita. Everything is nothing but water alone, which is you. So that is Advaita. So that means that not empirical, but in your own understanding. So something like that. Good. Happy that you're all enjoying the revision of some kind. I think that I found in my own studying that I now do this very routinely. In fact, really slows me down. I must tell you that this chapter 11 of Panchadashi, I cannot finish it before I start again. It's so lovely. And every time I do it, it just becomes a meditation. And so I've gotten into this habit of revision, which is a very good strengthening exercise and a clarifying exercise. Because sometimes, when the first time you heard it, your mind might have been thinking of something else. You didn't quite grasp it. But the same thing being said again, now you grasp it a little bit better. So I think that'd be useful. So I'm happy you're all in favor of my doing it, and so very possible we might extend it beyond 3 days. We'll see. I'll try to do it without spending too much time, but as long as it is useful, I would do it. So with that, I take your leave, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Om.